Hi, I hope you are well. This podcast is a place for people to share personal and professional perspectives, talk openly, and ask questions. From serious to silly to sublime, it's all about communication and connections. Always coming from a place of kindness and curiosity, we talk about shared humanity, discuss ideas, and highlight people creating a better world. We've got to keep learning, keep growing, keep being. I'm Melissa Beek, and this is Beek on Being. Today's episode is Beek on Being Besties. Are my children hysterical?
I'm sorry. Like, she's making me laugh. I can't look at her. I can't look at her.
Okay, this is definitely going in my blooper reel. Because I was so in awe and so inspired by my daughters and their friend groups that I have watched developed over the decades. It's not just the unconditional love and support and trust. Their dynamic is really so much more than that. There is no topic taboo, no discussion too deep, no conversation they haven't covered collectively. They cheer each other on, work together to process information, have lots of advice, encouragement, and support and love to give. It's 24/7, and it's traveling the globe to be there for all the big and little moments in each other's lives. Each individual's success is a genuine win for them all, and every falter stings less because they are there to lift one another back up. To me, it is a rare and beautiful blessing. So what is it about having these selected friendships, these chosen relationships, not the ones that you're born into or have romantically, that is so extraordinary and so exceptionally excellent for you? Why is it so important and downright necessary for our well-being to have these deep, meaningful friendships? For a Galentine's Day gift, we are honoring important friendships. Today, I have my two inspirations here to discuss it all about the importance of friendships. My daughters, Mollie Dixie Beek and Remi Bella Beek. Yay!
Hi. Hello.
Girls, please tell our listeners a little bit about yourselves.
Older sister first.
I'm Mollie. I'm the older sister. I live in New York City, and I'm a teacher.
Okay, I'm Remi. I'm the younger sister. I also live in New York City, and I'm also a teacher. I'm a sex educator.
Yay! All right, before we get into the other friendships, I wanted to touch on your relationship with each other because you're very close in age, and you've shared most, if not all, of your developmental stage experiences with each other, and you share common core values. So how do you girls define your relationship as sisters?
I think for me, I saw Remi as a younger sister for a while when we were growing up and like more of a playmate because the 2-year difference was more obvious when I was younger. And then it wasn't until high school when I started to see us as peers, when we'd go to the same parties or our friend groups would overlap. And I was like, oh, this isn't like Remi as my sister at this party. Remi's here because her friends are also here. And then it changed for me to be like, oh, well, developmentally, we're at the same place now.
I think, because it was different, like as younger sister, I always felt like I was involved in like older sister things, like being part of your friends and stuff. I think throughout time, like at first we were just annoying sisters with each other, and then like you went away to college and that was weird to like figure out the gap of like, okay, now there's distance and we kind of have to work towards staying connected. And then when I also went to college, that same dynamic. So I think that was a process of like us individually finding ourselves in our timelines and then figuring out ways to stay connected. And then obviously it made it easier when you came to New York, and we lived together, and just now we're living in New York, so it's easier. But I think it took time, a lot of time, and a lot of like both of us figuring our own stuff out.
Yeah.
And what's the difference between, oh, go ahead.
No, I just want to agree with that.
Oh, okay. What's the difference between being sisters and your other friendships?
I think there's kind of, at least for me, like an inherent, and this is because we were raised like this with our family values of just like there's an importance on family. So at least in my perspective, it's like, even if I don't see her all the time, or we're not always talking like every 24/7. It's kind of like I'm fine dropping everything and running toward her, and we have an understanding of each other that's different than like our friends, how we understand, like how I understand my friends. Yeah, I think there's always going to be something we know about each other that no one else does.
And I think for me, not everyone gets along with their sibling as a friend. Like there are some people who have like really big age gaps between their siblings, or they just are very different as people. And I think for me, it's like worked out really well. People will comment when I tell people, oh, I live with my sister. They'll be like, oh, it's nice that you're actually friends with your sister. And for me, I'm like, well, I don't really know any different. Like I know that there are people who don't have that. So for me, that's just a given. But I think in terms of my friendships, kind of this set the standard of like closeness. Because like my friends that I'm closest with, I'll be like, you're like a sister to me, or you're like a sibling to me. And in my mind, that means like we can just like, I don't have to put on certain airs if something's bothering me. I can just like name it. We can like hit it head on. Whereas with a friend who I'm not as close with, I might like skirt around the issue, or like use euphemisms, or just maybe like avoid or not want to tackle something. So I think if a friend's like a sister, that means like there's a level of like honesty that's not there in other relationships.
I would add.
So I was going to ask you that
too, like trusting with certain knowledge. You know, being like, okay, only you guys and my sister know this. You know, about me.
It's kind of a given. If you tell me something, I'm going to tell Remi. So it's kind of like the sister privilege. I'm like, well, yeah, I won't tell anyone except Remi.
Right? No one knows, just my sister.
Exactly.
I like it. And how does your sisterhood affect your friendships affect each other?
Wait,
my friends love Remi.
What'd you say, babe?
I said my friends love Remi. They like love when she comes around. They love when she comes to the parties, when she just was at my best friend's wedding this summer. So like they love Remi.
And Rem, what do your friends think of Dixie?
I think they love, well, no, sorry. I'm trying to phrase it. It's different though, because it's like, as younger sister, I was included into hang out with the older kids, you know? Whereas like, I feel like at least growing up, you weren't as inclined to hang out with like the younger kids. So it's like a different access to each other's friend group. And of course, like you said, there's overlap. And like, I think a lot of the reasons that not to like whatever, but like that your friends love me is because I showed up in college. I would visit you. I was in high school. I was going where it wasn't like the same dynamic. But no, my friends love you. They always talk about you. But it's like a different kind of way to see each other. And like they could see her as another version of an older sister. Like, oh, she does this, XYZ. And that even lasts now, even though the age gap is small. But if I'm like, oh, my sister did XYZ, they're like, oh, that's so cool. Or she's doing that, you know, something like that. So it's kind of like still that admirable older sister thing, even though the age gap is not as extreme.
And when did you girls realize you were friends? Other than sisters, but realize you were like friends?
For me, it happened in high school when we were at the same parties.
Sometimes. That's cute. I don't know if there was a moment that I was like, okay, we're friends. But I think, like I said, like once we got away from school and became our own people and realized, oh, we have to make time for each other. We have to find our own connections. That all contributed to it.
Flowed together. Got it. Okay, so Dixie, you had one cemented group from the jump freshman year at Tufts. Those relationships were forged in steel. And though there are clusters of you in different cities, you all make time to plan on being together as a whole group several times throughout the year. And Rem, you have a more curated group through different stages in your life. You kept collecting. Remarkably, most of you all live now in the same city or a train ride away, but some of those friends connect only through you introducing them, but they all now connect with each other. I think of these friendships as lifetime loves. the deepest chosen connections, regardless of significant others and birth family. These are the lifers. What does friendship mean to you guys?
You can start.
I think for me, friendship is the best thing in life. It is something that like gives me so much meaning and joy and enrichment in addition to support, but like it's just a source of humor and fun, and it's really like what life is all about for me, is that all I really want to be doing is hanging out with my friends. I know we always joke about that every trip I go on with my friends, I'm like the most excited when we have no plans and we have a massive house we can all be in together, because I'm like, that's all I want to be doing, is just like laughing at our same jokes, singing our same weird songs, and just being in a pool together.
Right.
You do that well. I agree. I think that the quality time aspect is super important, and how like I view friendships outside of anything else is like each person is like the center of their own universe, and they have like all the things orbiting them, like the planets, right? So it's like you can have work, you can have hobbies, you can have family, friendships, other like romantic relationships, anything else that's important to you. It's part of your life, but it's not like there's not one thing that's more important than the other. It's just like the value you put into it and how you put effort into it. So I feel like friendship to me similarly is super important, but that's separate from other things in my life. Quality time, I think they help me figure out myself like over time. They're also like mirrors reflecting different parts of you, right? So like they help bring out different elements of you. And I've noticed that in my friendships as we've grown individually and like together, and how they've helped bring things out of me or expose me to new ideas or things, and just like ultimately it's the quality time we have together, because that brings up so much more joy and like the kind of like the deeper parts of ourselves too.
Cool. Has the definition of friendship changed during the different stages of your lives?
Absolutely. I think when I look back at it, I think like kid version of me, like middle school and all that, had a hard time finding friends and like figuring out what friendship meant. And it kind of felt a little bit more superficial. And then as I got older, maybe like as you're growing and life is more serious, like high school and college, you're figuring out yourself and your interests. I think friendships got more meaningful to me. And those are the people that they're not just who you have fun with at school, but they're the ones you can trust, you go to with a problem.
Something deeper.
Bounce ideas off of, whether that's because of their profession or because of like who they are as a person. So yeah, it became a deeper, like these are the chosen people I trust in my life. It's like I need support or something.
I think for me, it was less about the idea of friendship and more about like, how comfortable am I with myself and how honest am I being? Because I think you attract what you put out there, like what you're presenting. And I think the times that I've felt more insecure or more unsure of myself, I'm thinking when I'm younger, like I don't think those friendships were as solid. And I think part of that was because I wasn't fully feeling like myself. And so I feel like the more
authenticity.
Yeah, the more authentic and that's not easy, right? Like it's not simple to just be authentic. That requires a lot of growth and reflection. But I think like the older I've gotten, the more I've done it, and then the deeper the friendships have gotten. But I don't think that's like, I think that's more indicative about like internal work than like friendship. I think you can still have a really deep friendship at 8 years old if you're just like being who you are and like feeling big feelings together. I don't think I was doing that at 8 years old though.
True. Why is it so important to have these relationships outside of your significant others or relatives?
I think, like I said, like different things in your life give you different feelings and different sources of energy, right? So it's like your friends are going to be there more or less for like your entire lifetime. Like they're not your family. They're not like people that like built you up. And your friends are seeing you in all these different life stages or like different moments, whether they're like long term or short term. And so I think they give you another version of yourself. I don't think it's, again, like more or less than a romantic relationship or a family relationship. It's just a different side of who you are.
Perspective.
And they kind of last usually throughout seasons. And they could be honest with you and support you in different ways.
Yeah, I think you can find like friendships anywhere. So like if you're lucky to have a friendship with a sibling like I have with Remi, like that's awesome.
For the friendships that I'm referring to, that I know that I've watched you guys develop over the decades, did it feel effortless establishing those friendships for you guys?
Oh, well, one of them, we didn't think we'd be friends. We both looked at each other, said, "You're weird," and just didn't think we'd ever be friends. So I think, I don't know if I would say yes or no to effortless, but I think when you're in the moment, you're not thinking about friendship long term. Because now that friend who's weird and I'm weird, it's been 20 years, right? So it's like, we don't think about the effort that we're putting in at the time. At least for me, I'm thinking of like in the moment in time, who am I connecting with? Who am I talking to? Who am I hanging out with? And then the fact that
You're present.
we need to choose each other and be present for each other time and time again, then it feels effortless, you know? And, you know, even going to college or being in different cities, like if those don't become barriers, and even those are difficult sometimes, then it can be effortless, but I don't feel like that's not even what we're thinking sometimes. It's just how it happens.
I think for me it was actually different. I felt in middle school and high school like I had friends, but I didn't have a friend group. I always felt kind of like tangential to different groups. Like I was invited to things, but I never felt like I was the core member of a friend group. And I noticed that like Remi had a really big friend group and was like kind of central to it. Even if you could say there was like a center, but I felt kind of insecure about like finding my place in a group setting. And I felt more confident in one-on-ones. Like I had one-on-ones with like a lot of people where we had our own dynamic, but in a group, it wasn't there. And I remember when I got to college, I remember when I started hanging out with my friend group, you know, we all lived together. That's how we started hanging out. And I was like, I'm just going to try and establish one-on-ones with everybody and see if I vibe. And because that's how I felt most comfortable. And it didn't occur to me till later that someone was like, you're kind of the linchpin of this friend group. Like everyone has a good relationship with you. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I guess I didn't see it was like someone else saw me as central to the group.
The connective
and I was like,
tissue,
oh, that's just me trying to make connections with people.
I think that's how I feel now, of just like I've kept up with different people and then just seeing like, oh, you two might get along for XYZ reason. And there's no reason to have barriers between friend groups. So then it just kind of became that way, that we all enjoy each other's company.
What's the most important quality or value you look for in a friend or a friendship?
Got to be a weirdo. Like you like not like you got to be a little weird. You got to have some humor. You have to be playful. I just want to like crack jokes and maybe just like say like just like be myself. Like I know I'm myself with somebody. I can like meow in front of them. I'm really embarrassed to admit that. But like if it slips out, that means we're close and I'm like
comfortable.
Yeah,
just like a cat.
Just like a cat.
I love it.
I'm trying to describe it. I think the word you said earlier, Dixie, authenticity, I think that's what it is, which is also what you're like referring to, is like if you can be your like full self in front of someone, I think that's good. I think for a while there was like a lot of like fakeness in friendships. And like, I don't know if that was because of age and people just feeling insecure about themselves, but that's the thing I think I've come back to over time, is that like I just don't have time if people are going to be fake about who they are or who they show up as in the friendship. It's when you're like real to who you are, and that doesn't mean you have to know yourself automatically. It takes time, but just being yourself in front of people.
And what's the key to maintaining these friendships?
I'm a big like show up person. That could be physically, but obviously that's not always possible if you live in different places. But even still, like I know Dixie and I both do that. We'll get on a plane or a train or something and show up for friends, for like whatever is important for them. So for me, like I just express my like love and value for friends by like showing up for them either physically or like if I can't go physically, I'll write them a note. I'll call them, I'll check in with them, you know, just being like, you are on my mind. Yeah.
Touching base.
Yeah.
Yeah, Remi's really good about that. And it's honestly something I struggle with, especially because I went to school with all my friends that were still, and they're my best friends. So I wasn't used to communicating with them except by like talking face to face. Like I didn't really have texting relationships with anyone in college because I didn't need to. I would just be like, oh, I have to tell so-and-so this story later. And then I'd go find them, which was really beautiful. And so it's been hard to keep up with someone. I feel like I don't know the day-to-day of a lot of my friends who don't live in the city. And that makes me sad because I feel like there's these gaps, and it's just like really hard to do, especially with there's so much going on in life. So yeah, that's something I feel like is challenging about friendship, is how do you keep up with someone?
When you do touch base with them, do you feel that gap closes?
Yeah.
Like no time has passed?
Yeah, like we can gab on the phone for hours. It's not the same, and that's why I felt like college was just this golden bubble for a bit, because, and I didn't realize it at the time, but we're going to be with each other, on top of each other, living together. And that doesn't happen unless you live in the same place or are roommates.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like when we catch up and see each other in person, it's great. But there is something about like the day to day that's missing.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that was the hardest gap. Oh, sorry. Between like college friends and then graduating and figuring out how do you stay connected to those people that you were literally living with and knew every single detail about their daily life. And I think that was a struggle for me for a bit of like, it felt like a loss in a way or a disconnect, and having to kind of rebuild that connection with people in other ways, and felt like, okay, if I can't know every single detail about their day to day, then how can I still know them? And that was hard.
Making more of an effort, you mean?
You find efforts in different ways, because you don't need to know that they're sitting on the couch. Like you can still be super close without that.
So how do you navigate difficult things in friendships?
Like difficult things in the friendship or difficult things and how we support each other?
Either way.
This is a hard one.
Yeah, this is hard. I think if it's a difficult thing external to the friendship, it really depends what it is. If it's external to the friendship, then I know that like I can be open and talk with friends and be like, this has been on my mind. This is upsetting me. Are you a safe space for me to discuss this issue with? But I think if there's interpersonal difficulty, for me, that's harder and something I had to learn a lot over time because I'm not confrontational. So if someone was upsetting me, like a friend was upsetting me, that would be hard for me to talk about directly to them. I think I've gotten a little bit better about being honest, or just knowing, okay, maybe I just need some space away to just calm myself down and reapproach. But that's a non-confrontational person speaking.
For me, I love having my friends to go to when things feel heavy in the world. And I have specific friends that understand different parts of my identity. And so I might call one of them to be like, I'm really struggling with like this side, the religious side of me and the politics around it. And I have certain friends I can lean on for that. But there was a point when I was really struggling and I called my friends a lot. And Mama, actually, you were really great with this when I was going through a really bad breakup. I remember the first thing you said to me was, have you talked to your friends about this? And I actually hadn't, and that was part of the problem. And so when I started opening up more and more to my friends about what I was actually going through, it was really affirming, and they helped me so much get out of a bad situation. But there was like a solid 2 years where I felt like I was the sad sack of the friend group, and I was worried that I was just leaning on people way too much. And I talked to them about it, and they were like, we actually didn't feel that way. We actually feel like you didn't talk about this enough, or like, and I realized that, like, yeah, in my head, I was like, I'm always going over these same issues. Like, I'm bringing this up so much, or I'm going to go to this event, but I'm feeling fragile. We call it fragile time. And I'm feeling fragile, but I'm going to go anyways. And I felt like insecure about that. Like, I'm not showing up and I'm not being fun, but actually nobody else was thinking that. It was just something in my head.
Your internal dialogue.
Yeah, but that was like years of my life. And so I don't think it's like easy to navigate conflict. I don't think it's like a one and done, or not even conflict. That wasn't a conflict, like a hard thing. Like sometimes life is long and you just have to like, sometimes a rough patch is a few years, but if the friendship is strong, it'll work itself out.
Mm-hmm.
It weathers it.
Agreed.
That's great. Wow. That's heavy, but thank God you have friends. That's exactly. It's critical. It's critical. So how do you balance these long-time friendships with newer friendships?
I think they're just different. Like, I think they see different parts of you. And like, as you grow as an individual, like, you're different. Like, I'm definitely different than who I was in middle school, high school, college, like all of those eras, like same person, but just like more evolved. And like the fact that I can have people who know me in all those different stages, I feel very blessed and lucky about that. And so for me, it doesn't seem hard. And kind of like we've said before, it's like, if I know a friend knows me in a certain way, then I can call on them when I need it. Or if I hear them talking to each other about like, oh, I know this element of Remi or that version of Remi, like it kind of helps me too, selfishly, like see all these parts of myself and just see how I've made these connections over time. And like, but I don't think it's, for me at least, too hard. I just lucked out on like having some friends since childhood and then some collected along the way. It's just how I know them. And then how we just continue to choose each other throughout time.
Nice.
I think for me, it's a little different. I'm also collecting friends, but I do feel like having this one group that we all met within the period of a year, and we're a big group of friends, and so it takes it takes a bit more. Excuse me. It takes a bit more time and effort for us to reunite, and so it takes planning and it takes coordinating schedules, and that can be a bit more challenging. But it's my favorite thing to do, and I look forward to when we have something where I'm like, oh, we're all going to be together. So, but
you all make the effort.
Yes.
You all prioritize it. I see that in all of your friendships, though, like even the ones that you've had that have been cemented from the beginning, and even the ones that you've had that you've collected along the way. I noticed that in all of your friendships, that it's not just the two of you making efforts with your other friends, that all of your friends, as well as you, make the effort to make things happen, to be together, to do things, to plan. And it's nice because it's balanced. It's really equal. It's a beautiful thing.
And I think also allowing separate time. Like I noticed that with your friend group, Dixie, like, yes, it's really special when all 20 million of you get together, but also like having little pods of you guys being like, oh, we're connecting in this city or for this event or whatever. And I feel that with my friend groups, you know, or friends too, like different overlaps of people, like that's still special not as special as when everyone can get together, but those are just little ways to keep friendships connected.
Like small
over time.
touchstones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what would you advise someone who's looking to establish a lifelong friendship?
That's a great question. I think you just have to be open. I think you just have to be self-aware and open. I think there's always an opportunity to make a friend. I'm excited to make friends in the retirement home one day, God willing, and make friends in like the Mommy and Me group one day.
Aww.
So yeah, I feel like there's always a chance to make a friend, but you have to be open to it. And I think it requires, for a lifelong friend, I think it requires being true to yourself about like what will you allow and not allow, like what behaviors are you comfortable with, like what do you even enjoy, what is your humor, just like knowing yourself and kind of evaluating how you feel, and then just like not manipulating it, just let it go. Like if you feel more uncomfortable, more inclined to hang out with somebody, like keep hanging out, keep doing things together. But I really do think that it's always a good time to make a friend.
I like that. That was very teacher of you.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, it was. It's always a good time to make a friend. I think phrasing it in that way, honestly, can be daunting, like trying to find a lifelong friend. I think that's a lot of pressure on it. I think what Dixie was saying is like, if you're just showing up with joy and just simply trying to connect with a person, like you don't know where that's going to take you. And I think we've all said that about so many things. And it's like, I'm thinking about how I've met certain friend groups about, I thought I wouldn't like them at first, or it just was a circumstance. We showed up to the same event together, or I said, oh, I like your dress, or something like that. And like, then the friendship flourishes. And so it just like, you kind of never know where you're going to meet a friend or how you're going to make that friend, or if they're going to be fleeting friendship, just fun for this short time.
Right.
A season. Or long term, so you never know. So I think like Dixie said, like leading with the joy, leading with like the being open, also like knowing your own values and knowing boundaries and all that. Like if you're true to yourself and you're just there for the joy and simply enjoying someone's company, I think that's like the heart of so much friendship, is that you're just enjoying each other's company. And like that next step would be like, oh, you kind of align with each other. Yeah.
Is there like an immediate green flag when you meet someone you're like, oh, yeah?
This is not an answer to that, but at my previous job, when I went to tour the school, I wrote about someone who ended up being my friend because he had pink hair at the time, and I wrote in my journal how cool it was to see someone with pink hair and that they looked really interesting. And then they ended up becoming my friend, and now we're still friends. And I think that's kind of funny. There was no way I would know, but sometimes
it stuck with you.
Yeah,
it's just a vibe.
It's like maybe the energy someone gives you. Like I'm thinking about other friends too, of how we might have met, and like, sometimes there's that spark where you're like, oh my God, this person's really exciting. And sometimes that fades. Like, we know sparks can just fade over time. But sometimes it's just that feeling like someone stuck out to you and the feeling that they gave you, or like the feeling you had when you were together. But I don't think there's like a hard and fast, like this is what it is, that makes a friendship.
I actually have a term for it. I call it squish. It's like having a crush, but in a friend way. So when I meet someone and I'm interested in being their friend, I'll be like, oh, I have a squish on that person.
And
that's cute. I like that.
The college group.
Yeah, that is exactly the term we use. And I still did it. Like some of my friends at my current job started off as squishes, and I kind of joked. I was like, oh, I have a squish.
That's cute. I like that term. Before one or both of you mentioned something about boundaries, how do you determine boundaries in a friendship?
Whoa.
Yeah, these are big ones.
Going to therapy. I don't know. These are kind of like a quick plug for therapy. I actually think that sometimes when you do the work so much, it just becomes like a vibe. And I forget that I actually have to think about what boundaries are. But therapy's great. That's all I'll say. Remi, your turn.
Agreed, therapy is great, and I think that goes along with what we've been saying. It's like if you know yourself and who you are, and
Yeah.
like the joy, what brings you joy, and what like you want to devote your time to and spend time doing, and all these things, and then you find other people who do that with you. I think that's fine, and like that makes sense. And then the boundaries, I think, I don't know, I don't
Come
have a good
naturally.
answer for that, but like I think the more you know yourself, you know what you're willing to put up with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think that's beautiful. Both of you have said it many times. I think the key to all of that is really knowing yourself and being true to yourself. That's awesome. And how have your friends influenced the person you've become?
Oh, I love that question. No, you can go.
I think for me, my friends have helped me cultivate my sense of humor. Back to therapy, my therapist is very into positive psychology, and which is all about character strengths, and it basically sorts through your different character strengths. And there were some that were very obvious to me about like love of learning and judgment and knowledge that were very strong for me. And I ranked humor very low because I was like, oh, that's not important to me. And then I had my friends take it, and they ranked humor very high, and it made me realize that actually humor is really important to me, and I don't need to be so serious all the time. And you can feel deeply and be humorous, and there is this balance. And it gave me permission to be lighter in a way.
I love that.
That's a good one. The question is about what the friends give to you.
How they have influenced you, the person you've become.
Ooh, that's such a good one. I think about it in small ways and big ways, like the small ways of like the little things, like the interest of, oh, I do this activity, like you might enjoy it, that kind of thing. But in the bigger sense, I think they've helped me come out of my shell over time. I think I've noticed that, like the trust that I found, and like how I was saying, like friends at first used to seem superficial, like you just see them at school and then you go home. But then over time, I think college too helped with that. Like they're seeing you all around the clock all the time. And so they gave me that sense of like trusting them, trusting myself, figuring out like who I am. And I think that really helps. Like I said, I think friends are kind of mirrors in your life of like reflecting different parts of yourself. So I think they helped bring about and shine those parts for me.
I like what you said about coming out of your shell. So I wanted to ask you both, how have your friends pushed you to grow?
I think in like, this is another therapy thing, like comparison brain. I think sometimes we think of that in like a negative way, like jealousy. And like that's something I've processed too. And like whether my friends know it or not, sometimes you just like look at each other and like you can make assumptions about each other's lives, but I think it helps to motivate you of like what you want out of life, and they just kind of can inspire you in that way. And I think that's how it's like pushed me to be myself, or even having just direct conversations with them of being like, okay, you're an expert in this area, or I think you really understand XYZ element of me, and picking their brain and then having them like just influence me to be the best version of myself. That's cliche.
I like that.
My serious answer is that I think just like by being there and being gentle with each other as we go through things, like I'm thinking about times when I wasn't feeling like my best self and maybe saying things I wouldn't normally say, or just presenting myself in a way that was like negative, or my mindset wasn't what I wanted it to be. And so just being gentle to be like, okay, well, that instance when I was being really negative, or I wasn't seeing things the way I wanted to, or my judgment was off, or I was being too critical, or whatever it was, just being like, that's just maybe a rough patch I was going through, or maybe I wasn't showing up. So I think like that's not necessarily a push, but just remembering that like people are human, and that like if
Giving
someone's
them
having
grace.
a bad day, that or like having a rough time, like that's not necessarily who they are. And that
Right.
allows you to grow to be like, okay, like just because like last week, you know, I went on a trip with my friends and I had to leave and come back early because my mental health was really bad and I couldn't handle the changes. And I wasn't proud of how much crying and how much panic and like how much freaking out I was doing. And I remember wishing I was stronger and wishing I could just roll with the changes and be more free spirited. And I felt a lot of shame about that. But my friends were very supportive and just like, yeah, this was not for you. Like, this was too much for you. And
Right.
it helped me grow in a way, not that I became more free spirited, but I actually just acknowledged that I need a bit more structure and like safety, and I can't just go on a worldwide adventure and feel confident. I can't live out of my suitcase, actually. That drives me nuts. And it just kind of allowed me to be more like, I don't want to say that word on thing, but it's allowed me to be more
Give yourself more grace.
yeah, but it's allowed me to just embrace that, like, when we're on a trip, I prefer to sleep in a bed by myself. And there was, like, a time when I would have been like, no, I want to sleep in the room with everybody. And on recent trips, everyone was kind of like, yeah, you want your own bed, right? And I was like, I would love my own bed. So
Yeah.
just that knowledge, that, like, pushing me to grow in the way of, like, acknowledging, like, this is just who I am.
And
I'm
what
also
you need.
I also just thought of another story, which is so silly, but I remember when we were 20 years old and went to Key West on a spring break trip. One of my friends was like, let's freestyle. And everyone was, except one person was like, no, like, we cannot do this. But she was like, no, it'll be fun. And it forced us to be really silly and not self-conscious and just be really bad at freestyling, which was so fun to just let loose in a way.
Yeah. I like that.
On your other story, though, I think that goes to the point we're saying of like, if you know yourself, and then like the people around you can like show up for that in that way and see you in that way, and like they're not going to make fun of you or judge you for like, why can't you just go with the program? And I think
Right.
for me,
They
like
understand.
that's a real friend, and that's like more like adult kind of securing yourself friendship. That's like something teenage me could not comprehend. That would be like side chatting, like what's wrong with that person, or a feeling like all that judgy kind of catty stuff
Right.
is left
Right.
behind, and that kind of fades away, those friendships. Then like the real friendships are the ones you're describing, that they're like, yeah, we recognize this about you, we see this point about you, and like we're fine with it, and we would just want you to accept that for yourself.
Right. Acceptance and understanding. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. So what's the greatest lesson you've learned from your friendships?
I think that there's joy in everything and that things feel really bleak in the world, but there is a lot of joy, and to have each other in times of joy, or times
Yeah.
to just have each other to celebrate the good things, and also like fight for the world we want together. When my friends are fighting to make a difference and putting themselves out there, I'm going to hype them up and be a team player. And when they get a promotion, or when they get a new job, or when they quit their job that wasn't treating them well, like, I have their back. And so I think at the end of the day, it's just to be like, we need community more now than ever. And
Oh, yeah.
we're just going to find joy in those spaces. And I'm just here to love you through it.
I agree with
like
that. I
that.
think we haven't touched upon like the celebrating each other's part. I think that's a big deal for me in friendship. And I think that's what I mean too when I say showing up, is like you are there for that person, celebrating their wins, holding them when they need to be held, like all of those things. It's like that community, that celebration of the people around you, and balancing each other out based on your needs and what's going on. And the joy, it's all about joy. I think kind of
Yeah.
what we've been saying too is like joy is important, and we undervalue that in the world we live in.
Necessary.
And it's like we need joy to keep us moving. And even if it seems trivial, like my friends and I, we love to dress up and take photos, or like throw a fun theme party, or like something like that. And it might seem so silly, but that's what keeps us going. And then like those are what the memories are made of, and like the connections with each other, how they form over time and make us stronger. So yeah, all the joy
Yeah.
and the celebrating each other.
Joy is critical. And you both touched upon like how necessary community is and the stressors of what's going on in the world now. So when you're stressed out or you're in a difficult situation, what kind of support are you looking for from your friends?
Depends on the
Is it back to what you
situation.
said before about like grace and understanding and acceptance, or?
Yeah, but it also depends on the situation, and I think it also depends like on yourself. Like for me,
Mhm.
sometimes I need space if I'm going through like something hard. Like I'll shut myself in and like that'll be okay. Other times I'm like, no, I need those words of affirmations from my friends. Um, and then there's always like a friend who I know will like either enable me or say a specific thing or see me in that way. And I'm like, I need those specific words of encouragement. So I'm going to go to that person. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, it's really dependent on the thing.
Yeah,
You
I
too,
like Remi's
Dixie?
answer. Yeah.
What does emotional safety look like to you in these friendships?
That's a
I would
tough one.
say that I could cry in front of you, but I cry in front of everyone. So that doesn't count. But like a real cry, and for me to like talk out that cry with you, I think.
Uh-huh.
And even if it's not crying, um, I think what we're saying, like the grace and the lack of judgment.
Mhm. And to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. And what have you learned about yourself from these friendships?
Almost everything. Like kind of what I was saying, like I do the work in therapy, and then like I think my friends highlight that for me
In real
and
time, yeah.
like inspire me or motivate me in different
Mhm.
ways, like showing me
Mhm.
that other things are possible. Um, yeah, and the
I think
joy.
that's I think it's hard for me, and I think everyone that like I spend all my time in my own head, and so I can be really critical or like too aware of things, and I don't see myself as my friends see me. And so sometimes when I'm like reading birthday cards or hearing messages, I feel like this disconnect where I'm like, I don't think I'm always that person. And that's, I feel like, again, that's like has to go back to grace, where it's like, I have to remember that, like, I am also that person, even if I'm not always that person.
Right.
And sometimes I feel that way about my friends, and it's actually encouraged me to share more to my friends about why I see them. Because, like, when sometimes they're feeling bad about themselves and they're struggling, I'm like, what? You're the coolest person I know. You're so smart and you're so funny and you're so gorgeous. Like, you're stressed. Like, what? Oh, like, you're perfect. And so I have to remember that they don't feel that way too. And so it's just kind of
Right.
this reminder that, like, if I can love these people and see how amazing they are, then I can extend that to myself too.
That's so interesting because I
Definitely.
think we're focusing on the same thing but in different ways. Like you're saying you can't handle or like process the cards when people say it, whereas I'm like, I that is what feeds me to an extent. And then it helps like you're saying, like, yes, it's not the full version of you. They're just highlighting one aspect, but then that makes like helps me see the mosaic of myself and helps me see like, okay, that person sees me in that way and that person sees me in this way. And that helps me highlight who I am with all the pieces.
Oh, I like that. You girls said that beautifully. What do you think your friends would say is your best quality?
I think one is attention to detail. That's just, they recognize that about me. Thank you. I knew you would laugh.
He loves the
Uh,
I love it.
and it's, yeah, attention to detail is like maybe a more fun one, but or serious, depending how you see it. And I think another one would be mm, kindness.
That's a good one.
I think for me, I am a supportive friend. I think they would see me as a supportive friend. And I've gotten this from a lot of people that like childlike wonder comes out. Like I'll be like, let's go swing on a swing set or like do this silly thing or play mermaids. That, you know, it's always time to be a girl, no matter how old you are. So I think I bring that energy to the friend group.
I like that.
Agree with that.
What are you girls looking forward to as your friendships continue to grow?
Oh, I love that question.
Can't wait to be in a retirement home together, and we are playing mahjong, and it's 10 a.m. and someone's bartending for us, and we're in the pool and cackling and sitting on the stoop.
That has been your vision.
I always see your group as like getting this sort of commune, all these homes near each other, and all their yards converge, and they're all and the spouses just come with, you know, and the kids just come with.
Would love just a Cape summer every summer.
Yeah,
that's very you. My friends were gonna split one of those big mansions in New Orleans, or we're gonna get our own. But I love this question because I think about this a lot, like memories and sentimentality and like growing and like continuing your friendship over the lifetime. I think when you're mentioning girlhood, like that is so central to me and my values. And I think that's because in growing up and girlhood, as a zillennial woman, we've been fed so many like rom-coms and sitcoms. Thanks for laughing at that. And the games we would play on the computer that like really hyped up what it meant to be a teenager or like a young woman. It would always be like, you're out in the city with your friends and wearing fun outfits, and we're gonna do our nails and go shopping for the night out on the town and the concert. Like that's My Scene, the game online, or like any of the TV shows. There's Friends, Sex and the City, the movies 13 Going on 30, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Like all of those, at least for me, were really central in forming who I am and how I saw my life going. And like this is, it just like I really grasped onto it. And so now that I've like arrived at that moment where like I'm in my 20s and I'm having the time of my life and I have my apartment, I have my friends, I have the job, I have the fun activities, my cat, like all these things. And
come to fruition.
It's come to fruition. And then like for it to keep going, like that's the thing is like the next seasons, as if it's a show, but also just like in our life. And I think about that both forward thinking and like also in the reflective way. Like I'm thinking about a friend who I've had my entire life, and we would be together in high school thinking about when we grow up, like what would that look like? Because we know we are our number ones, and so our partners got to know that they're second to each other. You know, that's something we thought of. And then for us to go through all the life stages of graduating in college and our first jobs and our first homes together. So like we're experiencing the future that we have thought about. And that applies to my college friends too, like watching us all get our first jobs out of college, our first apartments, going through different relationship dynamics, like all those things we've seen in each other that were the future. And like now we've been living through them. And like all the times that we have of joy, like my friends now throwing all these little parties and like, or just the fun things that we do and taking trips. Any of that, like that we are compiling into our memories. And then so like another 20 years down the line, we're going to look back and be like, remember that apartment that you had and like that job where you had to do this. And I'm so glad you got out of that job or that situation. So it's like, I'm always thinking about like how special it is that we're in these moments together with each other for both the sake of the moment and for like how in the grand scheme of like where we're going in the future with each other and how we're always going to tie each other, tie ourselves to each other. And then of course, like I said, there's the dream of having
retiring in New Orleans. I love that. That's very funny. What is the greatest gift or blessing you've gotten from these friendships?
So I think the greatest gift or blessing I've gotten is being able to feel really seen by people throughout different parts of life. And something we've been talking about lately is the wheel of life and how sometimes it feels like you are just going through a rough patch, or we just went through our solar returns or Saturn returns. And having that ability to zoom out and see all the eras we've lived together and how we've grown and changed is just really comforting. And I think that's also something about me turning 30 was that I was able to see time differently, where I was like, oh, I can see, I finally get what people said when they were like, hey, this is not going to matter in a few years. Or like, I didn't get that as a teenager. I was like, what do you mean? Like, it matters. And now I'm like, oh, I actually understand more how time works. And so like being able to see how far we've come as people and have these friendships, and that is just hopefully, God willing, it's just going to continue and continue, has been a really big blessing.
Agreed. Absolutely. What is it? A gift that they've given me?
Or blessings, yeah.
It keeps coming back to joy. It just keeps coming back to joy that they give in the small ways and the big ways. Kind of like a validation of self too, like we've been saying, at least for me. And like being able to grow too and talk things out with people who might be going through similarly, you know, like we're saying, we're in similar life stages as each other. And so to bounce that off of people that you can be so vulnerable with, that's such a gift that we have each other. And just have people who just enjoy each other's company. Like that's really what friendship can be. It's just like we're enjoying each other's company and we trust each other. And that makes the joy even greater.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, friendships contribute to your longevity. They stop your stress, your anxiety, loneliness, depression. They provide support, understanding. I'm grateful that you have these amazing relationships with your friends, because I see you girls flourishing and growing and learning, and you have a community all to yourself that I know whatever bumps that you go through, you have that cushion from them, and I know whatever success you have, they're cheering just as loud as I would cheer, and I think it's such a beautiful thing. So I'm so grateful that you guys came to discuss friendship.
I have other thoughts too. Wait, sorry, I have another. Is that what we're saying? Like the longevity and like the fact that you see it in us too, which is like super special, I'm sure, is like the mom. But they actually say that like in general in these studies is that women actually tend to live longer, have like better outcomes in health and happiness because of the friendships that like women forge for the most part. And that like, you know, in stereotype, men don't have that because like they can't get vulnerable with each other. And I think that is a big aspect of this too, of just like the value we put on friendship, I think can be so belittled at certain times, or like it used to be, where like social health doesn't matter as much. But like, I mean, maybe we can say this as teachers too, is like when we're looking at kids, so much of their time is consumed about the social aspect of like, who are you hanging out with? Who's talking about that aspect? And like, I think it's crazy if we diminish this, because we're seeing actual tangible proof of that. Like people are healthier because they have that emotional availability with each other and that trust with each other. To be candid and to show up for each other in different ways. Whereas like, I know there's all these statistics about men feeling lonely and like the depression and all these old things that they're going through because they're simply not asking each other and checking in, how are you doing, or sharing the hardships they're going through, or highlighting each other in the same way. So write each other cards, show up for each other, celebrate each other, hug each other if you're a hugging person. So that's always like important to me, and I feel so lucky that we have that and that more people should be doing that.
I think these friendships are critical to your mental, physical, and emotional health, period. That's, you know, necessary, very necessary. Okay, before I let you go, I do a thing at the end of each session called Quickie Questions. You girls game?
Yeah.
Okay, what or who inspires you?
Wait, is this a friend or is this anything?
No. This is just the friends section of this episode is over. But now I do like a thing to close my episodes out called Quickie
No,
Questions.
I know this.
So
I don't know why I
just
said yes when my brain totally goes blank. We know this.
Remi hates nothing more than a game that puts her on the spot. Throwback to Nana questions during the pandemic Shabbat calls.
Who inspires me?
Okay.
That's the question.
Who or what inspires you?
I don't know anyone. Just kidding. Answer this. I can't answer this.
I am inspired by my friends. Honestly, I was just thinking about my friends who are just fun and creative and stand up for others in the community. And yeah, I'm inspired by the people around me.
I don't know.
We're really you might want to cut
Okay,
this.
we're gonna pass that one. Okay, when was the last time you laughed, and what was it about?
You
2 minutes
during this
ago,
part of
too.
the podcast.
Me at me, yeah.
Not
20,
Remi
50.
looking at you.
Yeah, great. I love it. And what does a favorite day look like for you?
Hanging out with Mishi, my cat. Being home, reading with the cat, but then also like going out with my friends or like sister or like something. A little balance of like I have a fun place to go dress up and have a social element, and then I can come back to my cat.
Got it.
My ideal day is coffee, stroll, farmer's market, art, really good dinner, laughing with friends, drinking wine.
Sounds good. And then it's funny because I had this question in here before this episode even started about joy. What brings you great joy? And it happened to be like joy was the talking point. And there she is. Joy happened to be a big talking point throughout the episode. But so if you don't want to repeat it again about what brings you joy, you can say what your love language is. Either question.
Music, my cat, TV, books, dressing up, arts and crafts. Yeah, I think I said almost all of them. She wants
Yeah.
to.
For me, it's animals. Animals bring me a lot of joy, especially my cat and Miri.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just have to say, I know I'm your mama, but I think you both are the most extraordinary, exceptional, intelligent, beautiful, inside and out, kind, caring, compassionate women. I feel so honored, so blessed, so privileged, so appreciative that you're not only my daughters, but I consider you my friends. And you're women that I go to talk to and to listen to. I've learned so much from both of you. And I just feel super, super blessed that I get to call you both daughters and friends. I'm honored. And I thank you so much for doing the podcast, girls. As much as you laughed at me, I'm so grateful.
We only laughed.
I love you, girls.
It was
I
nerve.
love you girls beyond measure. I just love you girls so much. There aren't enough words in the human language to express the depth of my devotion and love for both of you.
You used a lot of them. We love you.
We love you, and we are both really, really proud of you for doing this podcast and for learning all these new skills and for making a friend in Steven and for doing this. Like, this is a big project and it's awesome and you're very creative. So it's been awesome to see you thrive with this.
Yeah, and just going after something that brings you joy. Like, I think that's our theme today is this like joy and like the fact that like you said you wanted to do something and you're just going for it. Like, you don't need to make excuses and you don't need to justify it.
Well, I think both or one of you said, because I had been formulating this for years, and I think at one point you girls were home visiting, you're like, what are you waiting for? And then I just sort of jumped, and that was it. I think I needed you both to give me that little gentle push. But I thank you. I love you girls so much.
Thank
Love
you.
Mamacita.
I love you girls more. Okay, I'm going to do my outro.
I could keep
All right.
talking about friends. Okay, keep going.
There will be a little surprise at the end of this, both audio on all the platforms and for video on my YouTube channel, where we have your friends leaving messages, and I love it.
I have so many beautiful memories with Remi Beek, but when I think back, the one that really makes me smile would be moving to Manhattan together. At that point, we had already been friends for years and been through so much, but that really felt like the start of our adult lives. And I remember apartment hunting and moving in and just feeling so excited for the future and so full of hope. And although that period of time was full of many ups and many downs, trials and tribulations, it was such a gift and so beautiful to have one of my best friends right by my side the entire time.
Hello, my name's Riley, and I've known Remi since we were like 5 years old, I think, like pre-K, pre-K ages. And a memory of us that always makes me smile is, there were so many, it was really hard to pick, but I love thinking about when we did video sync in high school and how like we would be like 15 years old and just feeling like so hot, shaking our butts in a dance class. And whenever one of us got called up to the front, it was like the highlight of the week. And kind of a part two, I love thinking about how we'd like brought those dances to the clubs in college. Like we would be out at the boot and like one of the songs would come on and we would dance it. Like that was really silly, but I think that was always really funny. I'd like to give honorable mention to us watching the entire series of Boy Meets World at my parents' house, usually while eating raw cookie dough for some reason, and also always getting Indian food and ice cream before a party, which was a crazy combination, but a lot of food involved in our favorite memories. And then I couldn't help myself, so I'm answering another question, which was, I can always count on you. What was it? I forgot what it was. It was something like, I can always count on you to do something, and I can always count on you to fill my cup, which I know is very vague, and I can't really be more specific because I don't know what it is that does it, but I feel like every time we're together, I just leave feeling so like revitalized and like extra peppy and happy. There's like something about seeing an old friend that just like makes me all warm and fuzzy inside. And that always happens when we're together. And I love you a lot.
Really like about us is that while we're so different, we're so harmonious at the same time, but not to a level that we're not learning and growing. And I think with previous friendships, we're super similar. And as I grow and mature, I find the most rewarding friendships to be the ones where we can all like teach and learn from each other, whether it's big or small. So sometimes my friends taking me out of my comfort zone or teaching me something new, or when I get to be that person for them, it just feels really special. So I think growing with them has been the most amazing part of our friendship. And yeah, I like would not trade that aspect for the world.
One of my favorite qualities of our friendship is being a ride or die. So that means a lot of different things. That means being loyal, being extremely reliable and a dependable friend, being there for the ups, but also the downs of life. And especially living in a city like New York, where we're all far away from home, it's really nice to have your ride or dies by your side every step of the way.
Hi, Mama Beek. Remi, I can always count on you to meet me where I'm at. If I'm tired, I feel like we can just sit and watch Sex and the City or Keeping Up with the Kardashians for 6 hours. If I'm upset, like I know you're there to talk with me. And if I need to go skip to the bar and have a drink, you're always there for that too. And I just hope I can do the same for you. I'm always met with a very non-judgmental energy and a lot of kindness and support.
So I have two favorite memories of hanging out with the Women's Monthly Collective. My first one is just the entirety of our trip to Croatia. It was so much fun, and just getting to spend time with some of my favorite people in such a beautiful country. We got to just, go out for dinner, hang out at the beach, pretend to be mermaids, just like live out our childhood dreams, but also like really spent quality time together, and it just felt so meaningful, always hyping each other up, just like gallivanting around the streets, and I just loved every second of it. And my second one is our stock exchange that we just did in December. I loved it so much. It was just so silly, but So like it was fun to like go through different socks websites and like find different socks that I thought spoke to the meaning of each person, their interests, who they are, who they mean to me. And I just really loved that. And I love how when everyone brought socks, it was true to our personality, like Remi bringing me the cutest of the 2-button sock. I just loved it. Scarlett bringing everyone the Ralph Lauren socks with little bears on it, which is just her signature. So I loved that, and it was so much fun just to share our favorite parts of each other, and also gifting each other something so small and cozy right before the winter came, and I really loved it. It just made me feel so happy and secure in our friendship, and I love that we get to do like small little things like that throughout the year, and just celebrate girlhood, friendship, and just us living our lives together in New York.
I feel most seen and supported in our friendship when you share a thought or a feeling that I also experience and either feel shame about or feel uncertainty about or feel alone about. You have such a wise way of talking about the mind and also like how our mind and bodies connect with the world, that really just makes me feel understood and supported. The second the second way I feel most supported and seen by you is in your like 100% support and validation of me. You are always the friend gassing me up, making me feel better about myself, making me feel loved and cherished. And that is one of the many, 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 many reasons that I love you. And I can absolutely always count on you for a really weird, goofy time. I think one of the strongest parts of our friendships is being able to access this really like funky, goofy parts of ourselves. It's a part of ourselves that we had when we met when we were 18 and when we were kids before that, and it's a part of ourselves that we still have now and that I love tapping into and like acting childlike together, and it like brings out this joy and excitement and awe for the world, and for weirdness and spontaneity that I don't often feel even by myself.
Hello, this is a recording for Mollie, Dixie, Beek. I'm going to start off with question 1. The most important quality I value in our friendship is that I feel like our friendship really encapsulates the full spectrum of life, which is that we can be serious together and commiserate about the most difficult things in life and about our world, but also find the time to be light and be girls together and just enjoy girlhood. I love that our friendship is so playful and fun, and that I really feel my most inner true self when we're together. I feel like I can honestly be myself, like I can embrace the parts of myself that have been made fun of in the past or that have made me feel less than or othered in the past. I feel like you, Mollie, celebrate the qualities that are truly mine in a way that I've never experienced before. And I just love how genuine our friendship is, and how loyal our friendship is, and how wonderful and special and kind and intelligent you are, so that every single conversation, like we can talk for hours over a glass of wine or over olives and just gab and gab and gab, because you always have something important and thoughtful to say. And every time I leave hanging out with you, I feel so much better in every way. I feel lighter. I don't have the weight hanging over me of whatever was bothering me that day, but also I feel like I'm coming away with something because our conversation is always meaningful. I have truly, like, I can't narrow down the most important quality of my friendship with you, because as we've discussed at length, like I have trauma around best friendship just because of past friend traumas in middle school, in high school, throughout the years. And I feel like having you in my life, like I really know what it's like to have a true best friend, and I value it more than anything. And I really, really love that we can celebrate each other and celebrate girlhood together. Next question. I feel most seen, supported in our friendship. Well, truly all the time. But when you just reach out to me out of the blue to hang out, I feel so happy every time I get a text from you to go walk in the park or meet up for a snack and a chat. It is so special. Again, just to like feel like my presence is wanted, and I know that I feel that way about you too. So I always feel seen and supported in our friendship, truly every day. And I feel like also the way we celebrate each other for all of life's milestones is a huge support in my life. And especially in this world where there are so many things that are difficult and heavy, knowing that I have you there to celebrate the good times and complain with me in the bad times is such a huge thing. Okay, next question. I can absolutely always count on you for literally everything. You were my maid of honor basically at my wedding. I didn't have a bridal party, but you truly were there for me in every single way. I've never felt more loved, supported, and celebrated. You put your own fears and discomfort at bay so that you could perform our Sheva Brachot at our wedding, which is scary. I mean, you sang with your most beautiful singing voice. You led in front of over 115 people. I mean, you showed up for me and Ben in a way that like we really can never repay you. It is so special. I am so honored that for the rest of my life, I will know that you were a part of that day for me. I mean, you are there for me always. Like I cannot count the ways that I can always count on you. And then the memory of us that always makes me smile is also too many to count, but I feel like when we went for our Halloween walk a few years ago, I feel like it was right when I moved to Greenpoint, and we were walking around and looking into people's windows, and you were dressed in your pirate Halloween costume, classic, and I was dressed in my like glittery undefined Halloween costume, classic, and we just walked around and took in everything around us and our surrounding, and it was just the two of us against the world, gabbing and making the most out of everything. And I feel like that the reason why I love that memory is, and it always makes me smile, is because I feel like it really encapsulates the core of our friendship, which is that I feel like whenever I hang out with you, no matter what the situation is, whether we're at Bouquet having a glass of wine, sitting in Fort Greene with a picnic, or literally doing nothing and having like a salad and just talking, it is always fun, and I always leave feeling more fulfilled. Anyways, sending so much love, and I miss you, and I can't wait to see you soon.
To our listeners, thank you so much. So grateful you're here. Keep listening, keep learning, keep laughing, keep up with Beek on Being. Follow Beek on Being on Instagram for the latest. To share thoughts, ideas, suggestions, or nominate a guest, DM us. Want exclusive content, behind-the-scenes stories, and listener links? Subscribe. Listen to Beek on Being wherever you get your podcasts. All episodes are automatically transcribed. Big shout out and a huge thank you to Stephen Chen at Penthouse Studios. Woohoo! Beek on Being was recorded at Penthouse Studios and is a proud member of the Penthouse Podcast Network. Thank you, girl.
Can we all say this is Beek on Being at the same time?
Oh, you want to go do it again? We could do it.
No, just the one.
No? Just what? Oh, we'll do it.
One.
Okay, I'll count. Okay, ready?
And
This is Beek on Being.